When Di Morrissey chooses where her next book is going to be set, you know it's because she wants to draw our attention to something that's close to her heart. In the Golden Land, that subject is Burma. Di Morrissey, welcome to Booktopia.
Thank you, Carolyn. Lovely to see you.
How do you choose the settings for your books? Because you seem to be so on the money with the ones that you pick.
The timing has been extraordinary. They kind of choose me. The place chooses me. I don't sort of stick a pin in the map, but I think that's perhaps guided by events and influences that concern and attract and draw my attention, and that kind of whispers in the grass leads me to the place, and events unfold. For example, with the Golden Land, I have been a long time supporter of Aung San Suu Kyi from when she was in house arrest, and actively sort of campaigning to raise awareness for her release. I've always had a long family connection and interest in Burma from my grandfather, so it's kind of been on my radar. So all of those elements kind of come together, and then my son, who's a Buddhist scholar, got into Burma a couple of years ago and said that, you know, Mum, you have to go. So it was kind of there. So I applied for a visa, but I couldn't get in for a couple of years. But then when Suu Kyi was released from house arrest, the visa was available, so I went and went, well, here it is. And I was there at the opportune time of the moment of change. So it was a gift in many ways.
Absolutely. Let's just go back to your grandfather. Tell me about him and how he plays a role in the shaping of this book then.
Well, he's really been an influence ever since I was a child in the appreciation of reading and books. He's a self-educated a man of left school at 14, came out from England, fought at Flanders, and was a great Kipling fan. He sang The Road to Mandalay to me from when I was a child. We read Kipling in Somerset Maugham, and we talked about this magical place called Rangoon. And from a teenager, I have always wanted to go to exotic, glamorous Rangoon. It was like up there with Casablanca. Yes. And so all of it was and a little bit about the Thai-Burma Railway. I was aware of the historical significance, but then when my son became a Buddhist scholar and opened my eyes to that there were these treasures that really the world did not know about that were in Burma. I mean, all of these little kind of drips on the stone, you know, build up, and then. You know, the more I learned about the situation in Burma, you know, the serious, you know, human rights issues, the repression, Suu Kyi being such an inspiring figure. I mean, there are the elements that I wanted everybody else to appreciate and understand as I was learning.
Now, you talked before about treasures, and of course there is a treasure at the heart of this book, and it's an object called, I hope I'm going to say this right, a kamavaka?
Or a kamavacha. Yeah.
Kamavacha, right, okay. Tell us what that is.
It's basically a palm leaf manuscript that you find all over Asia. You know, they're beaten and painted, and calligraphy. The monks do them. They're generally Buddhist scriptures or prayers, or families present them to the monastery when their sons do their year-long, you know, become a novice for a year as a monk, and they're given as a gift to the monastery. Some are very valuable, some are not. There's thousands of them, but there are also thousands that are really, really old and valuable that are kind of, you know, rotting away in monasteries. And, you know, you can buy them, and, you know, I've seen them in Asia, and they've always fascinated me. So I kind of, it was a small enough and an object that you know, I could do a lot with in the plot of a novel.
It's nice, isn't it? Because it's portable, it unfolds.
And it's got a story within a story, and so on.
And what about Natalie, the character at the centre of the Golden Land who finds herself in possession of one of these things? Tell us a little bit about Natalie and about the journey that she embarks on with this object.
Well, this is a young, modern woman with a, you know, young family, I suppose not unlike my daughter. and I wanted to. I don't want to preach or be polemical in trying to tell the story of the history of Burma in a way that's going to be like a history lesson. So I thought, as to take a character as a young woman who knows absolutely nothing. Maybe she's heard of Aung San Suu Kyi, but it's all a bit vague. Which I was discovering was the situation in Australia that really we don't know an awful lot. So I thought for her to go on a journey where Burma comes across her radar because she inherits a family heirloom from her great-grandfather who was Scottish and served in Burma, and she has the little object, so it opens her interest in Burma, was a means of we learn as she learns and following her.
I wondered whether your readers ever say, Di, just give us a story, we don't want a message.
No, the exact opposite. People, they love learning and going to and being informed while they're being entertained, so it's not like a lesson. And the thing is that everybody writes to me and then says, I'm going, or I want to go. And so it opens doors, and quite a few people have had experiences by taking that journey that have been really quite transforming and life-changing. So when I do write about a subject, I'm aware now that I have a great sense of responsibility.
Yes. It's a form of activism. You're sort of combining fiction with activism in a way that's really quite unusual.
Yes, yes, very much. And so it's a fine line to tread as well, to balance both sides, to be factually correct, to be able to still, deliver a rip-roaring, page-turning, story, and also do justice to, involving readers that in Australia about something that they might never have ever thought about.
And it's not the only serious theme or issue that you canvass in this book, because glancingly you're mentioning the mining tax, the whole fly-in, fly-out culture, the business of people losing money in the global financial crisis or through the collapse of the stock market, parents getting older, the whole business of juggling children in terms of, career and everything else. I mean, there are lots of other secondary themes, aren't there, in this book?
Yes. I was also trying to look at and those issues all raise a moral dilemma, because you are forced into a position to make choices, whether they're financial or otherwise, that you might not have had to make. So Natalie is put in the position of a moral dilemma and doing the right thing. And it didn't actually, I didn't plan it, but in a parallel way, there's similarities between the choices that a woman like Aung San Suu Kyi was forced to make. When you actually look at the moral issues and the choices of country doing the right thing or versus family, so the plots, I suppose, are always like, I think of them like braiding hair. There are all those strands that I try to braid together in a smooth tail.
You are a very bold traveller. I know that you are perfectly prepared to travel without comfort. If you have to, you're happy to sleep in a swag. What was it like going to Burma?
It was like going to the moon. It was like going to another planet. I thought, I was knowledgeable. I thought I had read enough, but the physical sense of being there, the extraordinary landscape, still the presence of repression was there. Felt completely, utterly safe. Walking alone anywhere in the country. The people are Burma's greatest tourist asset. They are absolutely wonderful people, and travel was kind of rickety and rough, but it was to see the scope of the country, the landscape, because it's the second biggest country in Southeast Asia next to Indonesia. It's huge, and we've got snow-capped mountains where we're now having investors looking at ski resorts. We have beaches that just put Bali in a cocked hat. We have these amazing rivers and these towns and great cities that have been in aspect for 40 years, and then you have these thousands and thousands of years old ancient culture, that you go out onto the plains of Bagan at the sunrise by the Irrawaddy River, and you stand there and you climb up an old stupa and you look across a plain where there are 10,000 monasteries, stupas and pagodas have stood since the 3rd, 8th century. I mean, and rural life goes on. Life is like, a lot of them are no longer used for worship, and the villages have kind of been now moved away under UNESCO. They've been, they don't live there, so they're sort of down the road. But yet the bullocks rub up against them, and the monks just walk between them. Time stops. And I think that was the overwhelming thing, that you really for a moment were in the time machine, and it's spiritual and it's extraordinary, and I came back feeling really changed in a lot of ways. Physically, because you walk a lot, it's hot, so it was a challenge physically, and to glimpse that and to see the opening up of a country and also what they'd been through, it made you sort of reevaluate a lot of things in your own life.
So, Di, after someone's read The Golden Land and they've been captivated by the story, which is very romantic in terms of being about one woman discovering a bigger world, what do you want readers to do? What would you like to think? What do you hope readers will do when they've read the book?
To have a better appreciation, to actually understand what this country and its people have been through. We have heard so much about so many other countries and problems and issues, but to the stoicism and the non-violence and the patience is just extraordinary. I think we can all learn lessons from not just the Buddhist philosophy, but from the staunchness of the people of Burma, and to go there and see it for yourself, but go lightly and treat it with great respect, and appreciate this beautiful fragile phoenix that is rising from the ashes.